Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Beit Shalom Storytellers, where we tell our personal stories of how God is interacting in our lives. When we look inside the scriptures, we see that God encourages us to tell His stories as if they're our own. When we read the Exodus story and tell it, we should be telling it as if we came out of Egypt ourselves. When we tell the gospel message of Yeshua, our Messiah, and what He did for us, we should be telling that story as if we lived in the first century. Furthermore, when we tell our personal stories of God interacting in our lives directly, we enhance and add to the gospel message of the scriptures. So we hope that these stories will encourage you to take a better look at your life and how God is interacting in it, and more importantly, encourage you to tell your story. Thank you for tuning in.
Well, Matt asked me to tell my story, and I just, the first time, I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't ready to do that. And, you always want to say something that's happening right now. You don't want to just say, this happened way a long time ago. But to set up what's happening right now, I'd have to say something that happened a long time ago. And I'm a mom with 6 kids, and, many years ago I was in a marriage that it died, and the story that happened just, not long ago, what God was doing, you'd have to know what happened. And so I found myself in a bed with someone who was dead to me. And it was very, very painful. And, I'd go to bed at night and, not knowing how to handle rejection or anything. Never had anything like that happen in my life. And I just began to, learn to pray for someone that wasn't kind to you, and so, or that didn't love you the way you loved them, or whatever, So I would get, I just made it in my mind after many, many weeks of not doing it right, just put my hand, on his back and just pray for him in the night and just say, God, help me, and, it's just gut-wrenching time, and it almost defined my whole life, that period of time. And one night I began to do that, and I woke up in the night, and somebody was holding my hands, and I'm thinking, oh, praise God, a revival's happened, miracles happened, and I felt over, and it wasn't his hand. His back was still turned, and it was the Lord, with me, and holding my hand. And it was like from that moment on, I knew that God was just so near. No matter what the situation would come before me, no matter what would happen, it was like He was saying, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to hold you through this. Well, as your life progresses, you can get through hard things. You know that God helps you get through hard things. But you still have your feelings. You still have things that happen in your heart, that you'll think, I don't like this feeling. I don't like the way I feel toward this person, that it's, and you'll think, is it unforgiveness? Well, I'm trying. I'm stating out, I forgive you in my mind, or I forgive you in my prayers, or I take responsibility for my own actions, whatever it was. But I still couldn't ever feel that feeling to where you felt like, I can really completely say I forgive somebody. And so a series of events happened. In fact, it happened 15 years ago. From this week, I was in a hospital setting. My daughter was, critically ill, and I could just remember looking over and snap. After all those prayers, God just took it. He just took whatever it was, and I looked over and I was like, had God's kind of love for, my ex-husband, and and so, but I still had pain there, and I still had, when I'd go out in the community, or I'd see him, or different things would happen, and I'd be like, but it's still so painful, and I couldn't make it disappear. I'm someone that, in my work or with my kids or my family, I'm someone that's like, I can make that happen. I can just snap my fingers, or I can work hard enough, I can just do something, I can make things happen. I couldn't make it happen. I couldn't make God make that not be painful. And, I continued to pray, and I continued to say the things, pray for him, pray for, my own heart, try to look at my heart and go, God, create in me a clean heart, renew a right spirit in me, God. And I just couldn't make it happen. And about a month or a month and a half ago, I was on Facebook, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a picture came up that usually would make me just crumble, a picture of, that, of someone else in another family that should have been in that family, should be in this family, and it would just be like so gut-wrenching, and it was almost as if God had just dropped it in front of me to show me that he had done a work. And that picture dropped in front of me on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't even know where this came from. I looked all over my computer because I'm not that tech savvy, and I'm like, how did this happen? I just couldn't figure it out, and I looked at it and there was no pain. And I couldn't believe it. I was just like dumbfounded, and it was like none of those things, my story is that there's a great God and that he's constantly, it's not just a work of physical healing that he does, which I've had that plenty of time, but it's that work of your heart where you need your heart to change. You need things to happen. You need to move on in life, or you just need help, And there's this great God that, all along the way I could tell millions of stories of what God's done in my life, in my family's life. But the thing that he's done in my own heart, where he came in and said, in my timing, as you cooperate, I'm going to give you a new heart. And I'm going to take that pain at the right moment. And so that's my story, one of many stories. That's my story of a great God.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Now do you see why I couldn't say it a few weeks ago when you asked me? That had happened.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I knew what I was supposed to say. Like all along, I was like, God was saying, I want you to share this. And I can't. I'm so not there yet. You can't share 3/4 of a story, And then it was right after. Remember that week I said, I can't. I said some stuff was going on. Remember you asked me and I said, no, I just can't. I was going through some really rough waters. And it was right after